This is Channel 2 News, coverage you can count on.
Very chaotic, early in the morning, very cold.
It has been 30 years to the day since Reno's most deadly tragedy. 70 people lost their lives when Galaxy Airlines Flight 203 crashed shortly after takeoff on January 21st, 1985. And that is tonight's Channel 2 News big story at 5 o'clock. We know it was a commercial chartered plane that left from the Reno Cannon Airport, and of course the Reno Tahoe. It took off shortly after 1 o'clock in the morning, and it was headed for Minneapolis. Good evening, everybody. I'm Wendy DeMonte.
I'm Kristen Remington, and as many of you remember, only one person survived that crash. Today, 3 decades later, the community held a rededication ceremony for the victims of that flight. Paul Nelson joins us now live in South Reno, where the crash happened, after attending a ceremony at Rancho San Rafael Park today. Paul, I imagine this brought back some pretty painful memories for a lot of people.
Definitely, Kristen. Today's ceremony was attended by first responders that were at the crash site, family members of some of the victims, and even the only survivor from Flight 203. Now, you may recall the original memorial plaque was stolen 2 years ago. The unveiling of this new one offers people a chance to reflect on the crash and pay their respects to the lives lost. Galaxy Memorial Grove serves as a reminder of one of Reno's darkest days. 70 names are etched in this plaque. What could have been the 71st is still with us today. George Lamson Jr. is the only person to survive Galaxy Flight 203. He was only 17 when he boarded that plane 30 years ago.
Took off and it was smooth, and all of a sudden we hit some turbulence, and then we just started turning.
The plane crashed onto South Virginia Street, southwest of the runway.
So I kicked the wall while we hit the ground, so I was just sliding through and all this fire and debris, and then I realized I was outside and I tried to get up.
Lamson and 2 others were taken to Washoe Medical Center, now called Renown. The other 2 did not survive their injuries. Among the victims was his father, George Sr. Mitch Nowicki was one of the first responders.
From the looks of the crash site and the amount of flame and debris, it was actually quite a miracle that there was anybody that survived.
Lamson and his daughter Hannah were at today's rededication but chose not to be interviewed. Troy Ehlers also made the trip to Reno for today's unveiling.
I changed everything about my life. I mean, I'm lucky I had family that were close, and my aunt and uncle were able to take care of us. 2
of the names on this memorial belong to Ehlers' parents, Barbara and David. The pain from that day is something he says he still carries with him.
We've suffered with this for so many years, and it means a lot to me that the people are still thinking about us, and it brings me some closure.
Now, the National Transportation Safety Board did determine that there was an air access door that had been left open, and that caused the plane to vibrate when it lifted off. However, that wasn't the cause of the crash. They concluded that the probable cause was pilot error. Covering the big story live, Paul Nelson, Channel 2 News.